Charlie Lewis Jr.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Thank you. Oh my gosh. We have a full house.
Yes.
Oh Lord,
It's
we
so-
missed
we
missed
missed
our,
that. We
we
missed our
our
cue. You
holiday
missed our
music.
cue.
We're so upset.
You missed our cue, but it's okay. What's happening, everybody? Let's get some energy in here. Let's go. You guys came out in the cold to see little old me.
We love you, Charlie.
Yes, and I love you all. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy. I'm privileged and honored. It wasn't like I was doing anything.
Well, we are going to change that
Thank you, my dear.
because this book is going to change your life.
Let me just say, who's read this book? Oh my gosh. So Charlie called me, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Said, I wrote a book and you need to talk to me about it. And I said, okay. You know how many people asked me that question? A lot. Actually, they asked, I want you to put it on TV. I'm so sorry I can't do that because this would have been on television.
Okay.
Right now.
It's on TV.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
No, but on my.
You still got other,
I'm not
shows.
mention those other people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I will say is, I was at jury duty,
Okay.
and I picked this book up, and being in the jury room, you know how boring that is. I was laughing. I was I was all the things.
Yes.
And I have to say, I do recall texting you in the moment
You did.
and saying what?
You said, Charlie Lewis, it was like you ordered me for this assignment.
I'm serious. Like everything in here spoke to me. And I know it's going to speak to you in a way that just will fill your heart and fill your soul. Because, it's all about living out loud,
Yeah.
being who you are.
Yes.
But, it's really interesting because you said in it, or you talked a lot about silencing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, truly find that hard to believe because ever since I've known you, you've been,
That's out.
kind of like, that's why,
That's the outside Charlie.
yeah, we.
But the inside Charlie can just go in, center himself, cut off the phone, and just be quiet.
Is that the inside Charlie now, or was that always the inside Charlie?
It's a little bit of both, So, everybody's in. Y'all comfortable? Come on, Herb, sit down. You come on in. We're family here.
Late Herb.
Come on, Herb. You came from Brooklyn. We love
They
it.
didn't teach us.
So y'all know I have to do my HU because Lewis, y'all know when I do HU, it's HU. So, HU.
You know.
All right, there we go. Now the room is up.
Like everybody knows Charlie in this room, right? Yeah. Okay, but what period of the book, you talk about things in the book through a lens of wellness.
Yes.
Whether it's emotional wellness or spiritual wellness.
Yes. So,
why that lens?
Yeah, so 5 years ago, I met a young lady, and she came to me about an idea or a concept about putting together a retreat because of my tagline, just out of the blue, love the way you live. And she came to me and she said, you know what, are you familiar with the 8 dimensions of wellness? And I said, no, I'm not. And so the 8 dimensions of wellness is social wellness, physical, financial, spiritual, emotional, occupational, intellectual, and environmental. So what I did was I took the personal memoir, my story, and I wrapped it in to those 8 dimensions. And when I got to know what those 8 dimensions were, I realized I was doing the work. And I started doing the work 40 plus years ago.
Mm.
So I really take you back to when I left Statesboro, Georgia, and came to Howard University, and how Howard was the place that expanded my mind. It was the place for the first time I saw black people not being monolithic. It was the place of expansion. It was the place for me to see the diaspora in its full totality. So the Caribbean, the Africans, and all African Americans from 48 different states throughout the country. Howard is very special. And you guys know that I, bleed blue. So you'll see that throughout the pages and how I go there. So that's how that came about. And it was just, it spoke to me. And when I started this book, really, basically, it was 10 years ago that I started trying to write. I was journaling, but my mind thought quicker than my pen, so I could never get it, writing it fast enough. And so that's when I met Nathan Hale Williams, who's my co-author.
Is he here?
No, he's not.
Oh,
he's in LA,
okay.
in the
All
summer.
right.
And I said to myself, Nathan, how do you write a book? I'm trying, but I can't do it. And he said, I got you. And the rest is history. And so basically, he interviewed me. We interviewed, we transcribed the notes, and then he built the outline for me using the 8 dimensions of wellness. And then here's the product.
I know. And you give away some pearls. I'm just going to name a few. Life gives you more than one shot to get it right. I needed to hear that. We live in a time where people are suffocating under the weight of should-haves and what-ifs.
Yeah.
Clarity shows up when you stop lying to yourself. Meet your boss every 30 days to track your progress.
Yeah.
And there's page 17,
That was,
19, and that's before page 17, 19, 23, 24, 29, 30, 31, 40, 58, 72, 76, and then when you hit Africa, yeah, you threw me out the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have come to understand where your life started from consciously.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that point in your life. The aha moment.
Where do you want me to start? You want to start?
You got to go back to Georgia.
Okay.
I would have to say.
Yeah. So basically, as you guys know, I'm from Statesboro, Georgia. Proud Georgia boy. And in Statesboro, I knew the world. There was another world. I knew that I could not contain myself or stay in that environment. It was for me to leave that that environment. I couldn't be a young man in Georgia. I could not be the man that I wanted to be. And so for me, I knew I needed out. And I was that guy. You guys, we grew up in the 80s, right? Where you encyclopedia and the Globe. And I would just go in and I would just turn the Globe and then I would just stop and say, hey, that's where I want to be. And I'm going there. And because my mom and dad, God rest their soul. I mean, I love them dearly, but God rest their soul today. A vacation to them was going to see my aunt in hot Jacksonville, Florida, sitting on a plastic couch. And not going to the beach and just sitting there saying, well, why aren't we at the beach? And so for them, that was vacation. And I remember coming up in high school and I just said, hey, I want to go to the London School of Economics. And she said, who do you know over there? And I was like, nobody. She said, well, that's your answer. And so back then, your parents, they grew up in the silent generation. If my mom and dad was living today, they would be 95 and 99 years old. They were very progressive for who they were.
Oh, yes. That was really brilliant.
Yeah.
Your upbringing. I mean, describe your father and your mother. Because your dad, everybody here know his dad? Know his mom? I mean, 4 or 5 different kinds of jobs, like the plates spinning all at the same time.
We come from a 6 of us.
Entrepreneurial.
5 sisters and myself. One passed away. But when we grew up, my oldest sister is 18 years older than I. So it's 18, 16, 14, 12, then 4, and me. So we all grew up totally different. I was the last one, I was the baby, and that was that. So coming up in Statesboro, Georgia, in a very religious family, 14 ministers. My sister's a bishop in the United Methodist Church.
Wow.
And my aunt was the first ordained minister in South Georgia. In the state of Georgia, South Georgia. So, y'all can come in. Come sit down.
Come sit down.
Come sit down.
But it seemed as though these sisters wrapped you in love.
They did.
Your parents wrapped you in love. But you say, loving someone and wanting to become them are 2 very different things. I'm not the only one who grew up performing love instead of receiving it.
Mhm.
You knew that then?
I knew it now. I didn't know it then,
But
but
you knew you
I have
were-
the language for it today.
And what was your language for
The
that?
language growing up then, your father, you were seen and not heard. You suffered in silence. A lot of us did that growing up. A lot of us at that time didn't have the emotional parents that could wrap you up and say, I love you, We did an autocorrection. I think we went too far to the right now, But back then, my parents were providers. My father was a provider. He used to say, feed my children. Because his grandfather, they starved growing. His grandfather, the way he treated his father was one that was really cruel. And so he never wanted anybody. If you knew my father, and if you know me, if we go out to eat, I'm going to feed you. And so that's just how I grew up in my father had 9 different businesses. And he just kept creating and kept creating. And when we grew up, it was like when you grew up and when you got up in the morning, you said, where are we going? Or where do you want us to come? To the store or to the house. And if you went home, you had chores. And if you went to the store, you did everything. So that was my life.
So seen and unheard, so
Yeah.
that silencing, back to the silencing
Yeah.
from my very vocal friend here. I silence myself in ways that look like obedience, but that silence doesn't disappear. This was brilliant. It calcifies. And you were young at the time. Did you realize? I wasn't really clear on that. You're a young gay man.
Yes, I'm a gay man.
Proud
gay man.
Proud man.
Proud man.
And a man who seemed to know where he was going.
Yeah, in the Lewis family, you knew about what you wanted to do in life. There was not any time for, they used to say back in the day, lollygagging. You knew exactly, you had a plan. You knew exactly what you wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be out. My biggest thing was getting out of Georgia. And so I'm glad I had sisters. So I talk about it in the book. It was the summer of '77. I was 10 years old. My sister Leontine was in DC, and me and Sharma, the closest one, we went for the summer, and that just changed my life. And I came to DC, and that was just like, wow, I knew I needed the city energy. That was where I knew it felt right, and I talk about this in environmental wellness. You have to be right in your environment. I knew as a kid that Statesboro was not the place for me. I always would say, in school, I'm just so ready to go. I'm ready to go. And my teachers used to say, where you going? I said, anywhere but here. And that was it,
I know he was yelling at me early. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to the...
Piggly Wiggly.
No,
Where?
I'm going to the jazz, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
blah,
North
blah,
Sea
blah.
Jazz. Yeah, North Sea Jazz Festival.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you're always going.
Always.
So you get to Howard,
Yes.
and it is just this.
Aha moment.
Yeah. Like,
Want me to
not
read
aha.
about
Not aha. Oh.
Yes.
Take us there.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read you guys. Chapter 2, Environmental Wellness. Love where you are now. From Statesboro to Howard. Finding and belonging. I always knew I wasn't meant to stay in Statesboro. Statesboro was a place where people were born, went to school, and if they were lucky, got a job at the pecan plant, the poultry plant, or maybe the bank downtown. You went to church, you found a good partner, had a few kids, and lived close to your people. Life was linear, familiar, and predictable. And for many, that was enough. Safety, security, routine. But even as a child, I knew I was built for something else. There's a difference between feeling loved and feeling seen. My family loved me, but I don't know if they ever saw me. Not the whole me. Not the boy who devoured encyclopedias in a world, alas, like bedtime stories. Not the one who daydreamed in color. Not the one who looked at the edges of Statesboro and felt as if we're staring at the end of a map. I watched kids I grew up with go straight from high school to the job. The job could be anything. A cashier at the Piggly Wiggly, a teller at SunTrust, or a nurse at Bullitt County Hospital. The next 20 years were basically set. You worked, you went to church, you raised your kids, and maybe, just maybe, went on vacation once a year to Savannah or Myrtle Beach. But that wasn't going to be me. The first time I really left Statesboro, I was 10 years old. My sister Sharma and I spent the summer of 1977 with my older sister Leontine in Washington, D.C. That summer was like no other. It was the first time in a major city, and the first time first time I felt truly alive, sensing infinite possibilities. As we stepped out of the car, something shifted in me immediately. It was the trees, the building, the black people, beautiful, confident, unbothered black people, walking with purpose. I had never seen blackness like that, not defined by the white gaze, not defined by the white gaze, not shaped by survival, just present, whole. That trip changed me. Fast forward to 1984, I returned to DC with Leontine to tour Howard University. Before this, I had no idea there was such a thing as a historical black college or university. That changed when my sister Rita came home for a visit and asked where I planned to apply to school. I mentioned the University of Georgia, Auburn, Emory. She cut me off immediately saying, no, I did all of that. Apply to Howard, Morehouse, and Hampton. So I did. Soon, I was visiting Morehouse with my favorite Aunt Essie. Morehouse was in the 80s, was small, run down, and 3.5 hours away from Statesboro, making that an easy no for me. Then came Howard. I saw students with natural hair, Malcolm X t-shirts, laughing in the sun, debating politics, blasting Sade, and playing this new sound called go-go and house music from their dorm windows. It felt like walking into the future and finally recognizing myself in it. I didn't know it then, but I was experiencing what the writer and professor Imani Perry would later describe as black joy, as resistance. Howard didn't just promise me an education, it promised me expansion. I didn't care what I had to do, I was going to get there. Getting into Howard was a big deal in Statesboro. It wasn't a typical choice. Kids who left town usually went to Georgia Southern, University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, or West Georgia. The idea of going all the way to DC from college was foreign, expensive, daring, and even a little bougie, if I was being honest. And yet, my father, practical and hard-nosed as he was, understood it. Maybe he didn't say it out loud, but he saw something in me. He saw that I wasn't going to thrive in the world he built. He had carved out his lane with grit and grind, but he also knew the weight of limitations. Even though he expected me to take over the family business, I believe a part of him was proud when I chose freedom instead. Howard wasn't just college, it was my exhale. It was the first time I could breathe without apologizing. I went back home my first summer, but only for a few weeks. After that, I didn't go back at all. That's not to say I rejected Statesboro entirely. It made me, but it didn't fit me. And there's a difference. I needed to be somewhere that reflected who I was becoming, not just who I had been. Howard gave me that. As the kids say today, Statesboro raised me, but Howard made me.
Who else in here can attest to that?
You know?
There it is. You know, I think about Howard. It was like an awakening.
Yes.
It was an awakening for me, young black girl from South Central Los Angeles. In fact, I found out where I lived. My roommate told me, who lived 2 blocks, literally a mile away from me.
Right.
She said, "Where are you from?" LA. "What part?" "Near Inglewood." "What street?" "Girl, you from South Central."
It's called Negro geography.
Yes, it is. But you know, Howard. Then this was '85.
Yes.
Freshman year, we come in, and there were needles all over the street on 13th Street, right around from one of the dorms that we stayed at. You know, prostitutes were walking about. I mean, it was exciting and fun and all of that.
It was all the things.
Yeah, crack was
We loved it
heavy.
though.
Oh yeah, we did.
We got into
loved
it.
Crack was a thing then.
Yeah.
We had, you know, issues with police, riding the B Street bus, you know, and there was also this
Life was lifing.
Life was life, and there was also this new thing.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, when I read the book and I learned how you later discovered, and I don't know if it was in this time, but this was the time when people were becoming aware that there was this disease out there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I literally screamed when I found out and
Mm-hmm.
read you were HIV positive.
Yeah.
And I said, and I didn't scream because you were HIV positive. I screamed because I did not know you were HIV positive, and because I know you.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I screamed out of sheer joy that it is something that no one needs to wear any longer.
Right. Well, it wasn't at Howard that I was HIV positive.
Right.
It wasn't
right.
even AIDS wasn't even a thing at Howard at that time. So that was after Howard. So that came along in the 90s. But when we were at Howard, we were just doing our thing, and then we were just gay, and I was out. But I was out. I would go to parties.
It was a thing in Los Angeles then, maybe. Maybe it was a thing because I was highly in tune to it.
Yeah, it was a West
Yeah.
Coast New York thing.
Uh-huh.
It was San Francisco and New York, but it was not about. It was not about. We didn't know anything about that growing up then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find out until I left Howard about AIDS.
Right.
Because at that time in 1990, my partner Richard, Tim Douglas, God rest his soul, was my best friend at Howard. Tim dated, the author Elin Harris of Invisible Life. Richard was my boyfriend, and Richard let Elin Harris move in 1989. We went from Invisible Life to now No Apologies, Love the Way You Live.
Mm-hmm.
Tim is no longer here, Richard is no longer here, Elin is no longer here. And I'm here. And I always ask the Lord, Lord, why did you save me doing all of this? And the Lord said, you have a mouth, and you're not afraid to use it. And so I didn't know what that meant at the time, and that was one night just praying. And 35 years later, I'm here.
And well.
And yeah.
And living in wellness.
Living in wellness. But as I say in the book and as I talk about HIV, it's about, and when you read the book, you'll see my journey through that. The journey was really, once I found out, this was in 1995, I had left grad school.
Yeah, right.
So I was in Atlanta when I found out. And I say in the book, I don't blame anyone for my life. I am, in everything that I went through, I've went through the heartache and the pain. As I say, I suffered in silence, and I came out on the other side because there are a lot of gay men that did not make it on the other side. And I lost a lot of friends. I probably lost 30 friends when I think about it. But the bottom line is for your health. I met my friend Wayne Noble here in New York, and the first thing he said to me was, make sure you find a doctor that wants you to live. Mm-hmm. And that was the biggest thing that I knew. And so today, my doctor, Michael Mullen, put in the book. He is my partner. He's my ride guy. But he's my partner, and he's been the best doctor ever. And it was something that stuck with me. And so I always tell people, no matter what disease you have, cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, or whatever the case may be, you need doctors that want you to live. You got to be an advocate. You got people in here right now dealing with elder care. You have to go to the doctor with your mother, with your father. You got to take down the medication. Your mother and father might be allergic to something. You need to make sure that they are tending to the business. So you just want to be an advocate for your health. And so at the end of the day, I don't even think about it, to be honest with you. Because it really doesn't, you pop a pill, and nowadays there are shots that are coming out now that you can take a shot 6 times a year, and that's it.
And
that's where we have come in advance. So
congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Howard thinking you wanted to do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You did it.
Yeah.
And then you pivoted.
Yeah.
Did I have
My life is, no, that was me. My life has always been about the pivot. The pivot is what keeps you living and not existing, okay? So, of course, you know, you graduated, you went to Ohio. I left Chocolate City at the time, and I went to Findlay, Ohio, and I called it, I went to White Chocolate City. I went to Marathon Oil Company in Findlay. It was only 4 black people out of 2,400 in the company. So I lived in Toledo, and I commuted 45 minutes a day. And I did that for a year and a half. In the last 6 months, I moved to Detroit, and I commuted an hour and 45 minutes. And I moved in with my good friend, God rest her soul, Monique Parnell, parents. And they let me stay with them. And that was the socialization and the environment that I needed at the time. So that is the thing that I need the most. When I talk in the book about environmental wellness, it's about making sure that you are in the correct environment that you can be your best self. Because a lot of us suffer in places, or we stay in places for different reasons. And so you need to be able to know when to move, when you are not feeling the energy at that particular time in space, you need to start making your exit plans.
Yeah, no, I'm really connected with that, because my place like that was Columbia, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And if not for my father's classmate, God rest his soul, Everett Dargan, Dr. Everett Dargan, I would have gone nuts.
Right.
He and his wife and family took me in. So I think what I took out of that moment was, if you're in an uncomfortable place, you find your people.
Right.
You find your space.
You do.
Your people.
You do. And you have to move accordingly. And in Toledo, we had a little crew, and we always used to have to tell everybody, stay in town. We're having a party. Don't go to Chicago. Don't go to Detroit. Don't go to Cleveland, you know. But it's something I said to you.
What did you say to me?
About 5 months ago, when you were at CBS. And I
wasn't
asked
listening,
you.
Was I?
Yeah.
Was I listening?
I said, Michelle, what's happening at CBS? And why aren't you moving on?
And you know.
And you know what did you say to me?
Well, before I say that, you know, Charlie has a way of asking you questions. And they really put you on the spot. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, just like out of nowhere, it's a zinger, and it comes at you.
Clarity. When you're clear, you see people. You see
What did you see?
I saw you hurting. I saw you in a place of you were just doing the job.
Really?
Because you said to me, yeah, you know what? They got me training a 29-year-old young lady. And I was like, well, why are you training a 29-year-old to be the face?
I wasn't trained. I trained her like 10 years ago.
Well, I mean, that was the
that's
conversation.
what I said. And
you blew it off like whatever, and then fast forward.
But it was almost like I knew what was coming, right?
You knew what was coming, but you were living in a fog.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just moving. You were just moving. And every time we would try to like really center you or have a conversation, you would just be on to the next.
So no apologies. Take me through this. I did some of my assignments, because there are assignments in this book, everybody. It really is a workbook. What lessons from it do you see helping me make the steps I need to make?
Well,
unapologetically.
Well, we're gonna talk about everybody else's. We're not gonna have a counseling session tonight.
No, we're not. You brought it up.
No, but
okay.
But the bottom line is,
we want to go back to you.
Yeah, let's go back to you. Not about Michelle.
I thought you wanted.
It's about Charlie Lewis right now.
A little session.
Come on, Michelle. Let's go.
See,
let's get into these questions. Let's get into these questions. Let's go.
Darling.
Yes.
Darling. So who do you think will be most uncomfortable reading this book? I mean,
ooh, good question. I like that question. To be honest with you, I wrote the book basically when you start to think about where you are in life right now. You know how you grow up in life and you have a mentor, right? Until you're about in your 30s, 35, right? And then you kind of push them off because now you're killing it and you're in the game and you're doing it. And then you get married, have kids, and marriage, what a lot of people don't understand, puts you into isolation if you don't build community. If you build community, if you belong to the D9, if you belong to the Boule and all the other clubs, and other, you got hobbies and you go golfing and whatever things may be, that's different. But if you, and you know people in this room know people, when you get married, you pull yourself away from your friends. Some people are controlling, so they want to control you, so they'll pull you away from your friends. And so if you do that, let's just say fast forward 18 years later, when you get to be 55, and life is not moving according to the plan that you told yourself, what happens? You don't have anybody to talk to. You don't know who to lean on. So I'm your midlife mentor. I'm the one that you can talk to. I noticed that in my life as a realtor. I've been doing that for 20 years, and people come to me and they just open up. And when they open up, they just start telling you all their business, and you have to manage that. I've saved some marriages, and I've told some people not to get married because I can see that they were not equally yoked and ready to really move forward. And those same people came back to me and said, you know what, I'm so grateful for you for seeing that because I was not ready. So I kind of walked you through the steps of, looking at life and really thinking to yourself. So for kids who read this book, the ones in here who are 25, 26, 30 years old, I hope this book make you think that if your mother was saying, get married, have kids, that's their life. That's not your life. Don't live your mother's dream. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And you have to lean into that. And people, I hate using that word purpose because a lot of people, I don't know my purpose. Well, you have passions. You have things that you really like to do. Lean into that. Be honest with yourself. Be true to yourself. We came up being raised by, a lot of us in here, by the silent generation parents. And so they told us what when we were graduating in high school or getting ready to go to college. If you played an instrument or if you were an actor, 9 times out of 10 they told you, no, you need to get a business degree. And they stifle your creativity. How many people in here did that happen to in the room? Yes. So the bottom line is you were living somebody else's dream. You were not living your own dream. And so fast forward 10 years, 15 years later, you're now at the place where you're trying to figure out, why did I go into business, or why did I go into corporate when really I wanted to be an actor, or really some people in here wanted to be an artist. Keith Brown, doing good work. So there's always power in the pivot.
I love that. So I want to talk about the pivot you made in creating your business.
Yes.
And becoming the realtor of All Amazing People.
Yes.
How did you know, what synthesis had you made in your mind?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur because my father was an entrepreneur.
Right.
And he always said to me, I didn't give you this education for you to go work for somebody. I gave you this education for you to work for yourself because you're going to be smarter than most. And so he was right.
But the entrepreneurial spirit is the spirit of true courage.
Yeah, and you have to, when I grew up, all I knew was seeing my mother and father going to work together. So they grew up together. My mom and my dad worked for 65 years in the same environment every day. They went to work Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m., and got off at 11 o'clock every night. And Sunday was relaxation, Sunday church day, go out to eat, come home, and then that's when I would get in trouble on Sunday. Yeah.
At what point were you done hiding when you wrote this book? What part of yourself had you completely, the last bit of hiding, or you were
I've been gay.
No, I know you didn't.
What when you say hiding?
Hiding. I mean, some of us hide a lot of things.
No, I'm an open book.
You are absolutely open?
Yeah, I'm totally open book.
You were completely...
After 1992.
That was the only thing you felt?
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't tell was my business. Which was my business.
But what would this Charlie tell the younger Charlie?
I have no regrets in my life on what I've done. The only thing I didn't do was have a conversation with my mother and father about me being gay. My mother knew. My sisters told me not to tell my mom because I would kill them. That would kill them because they were 40 years older than me. But at the end of the day, and I lived in New York and they were in Georgia, so I only saw them like twice a year. So it was like, there's no need to tell them, which I hate listening to them at that point. So that was the only thing that I regretted in life. But me, that adventure spirit that I had young, I have that today. That spinning of the globe, I've been to 6 continents, I've been to 72 countries. That is what I have. So I knew my friends, when they were on their deathbed, they said to me, Charlie, go live your life. And that was really what was major for me. So doing that course, some of you guys know my best friend, Carl Touchstone. Carl Touchstone in 1992, he told me, he said, you're angry. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you're angry. We got into a fight. With guys, you're always an ego. There's always an ego there, so you're always tussling. And I didn't know what he meant by that. But, you know, back then we didn't have social media, but we had Oprah. And so one day I was watching Oprah, and Oprah had Deepak Chopra on. And I was listening to him, and he was talking about self-help and getting yourself together and all that kind of stuff. So I took immediately, the next day I went out, went to the bookstore, picked up his book, and I read it from front to back. And I was like, ooh, wow, it hit me. I am angry. But when you think about what I was going through, I was in the closet. I couldn't date. I were having friends that are around me that were dying. Because I remember I came home and I said, I was like 27, and I said, you know, my friends are dying, and my mom looked at me, she's like, you got a lot of friends dying. Why are your friends dying? And I was like, oh, I'm not out. Let me shut up. I'm talking too much. And so fast forward, I realized at that point in time I needed to get help. So I leaned back in on what I knew, and that was the church. And when I would go to the men's group, I would change the pronouns from he to she, so I could, you know, express what I was trying to get across and really come to an understanding of what it was. And I always say, and I said in the book, you know, you spend 0 to 18 in a controlled environment, and you spend the rest of your life trying to deprogram yourself from that environment. And so when you know that about yourself, and when you lean in on yourself, you really get to see that you have to do work. So the question that you asked is, what was it? Who?
It was, you know, at this point in time, what did this book allow you to, like, cast away? Like, what are you no longer hiding? Is there anything?
But no, you read the book.
I did read the book.
There's nothing. It's an open book. There's nothing.
Well, let me ask you this: the consequences of living unapologetically for you.
For me, there are none. I'm 59 years old. Just turned out on Sunday. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
You have to be measured with your authenticity and your words. I learned that over the course of the years. You couldn't be as direct as I wanted to be. I had to, wordsmith and change that. People in here who know me know that I am not malicious. It comes from a place of love. So basically, if I see my friends hurting, I'm going to speak up and I'm going to say, I can see you're hurting, and here's a little bit of advice.
That was Uncle Charlie, right?
That is Uncle Charlie.
You guys saw Uncle Charlie on Forever, right? Oh my gosh. I adored, I've watched it 3 times this week.
Yes.
Your moment, love the wit. But this notion of like crossing a line and knowing when to reel it back.
Well, part of that is TV, and then the other part is reality. And so the reality in the vineyard is we have a house full of love, laugh. And the house was indicative. I mean, Mara took the setting of what we have. Mara
Rocker Keel, very good friend.
Write Up Girlfriends, for those who don't know in here, Write Up Girlfriend, The Game, and Being Mary Jane. Bottom line is she really, she said, you know what, Charlie, you have a lot of wisdom. What you do with my kids and how you talk to my kids and how you are always asking kids, are you going to Howard? That was, which I do. You know, because I want children to be nurtured and loved the way Howard did that. Howard was like a blanket, you know? And 40 years later, I mean, look at this room. I mean, a lot of these people in here have been my friends from 1985, which is amazing to me, you know? How many people you know can go to college and fill up an auditorium of your friends?
I know.
That was really key. And so that whole scene was basically something that actually happened.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I loved it. You loved it?
Yes.
We loved it. And I wanted to ask a couple of hard questions. I think I've asked a few already, but how do you stop the bleeding on people who cut you?
Good question. You basically have to curate your life. In anything that you do, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and even your significant other, your partner, you really have to make sure that when people, you have to set boundaries. And you have to make sure that people don't encroach on those boundaries. And if they do, you have to know when to say, exit right.
What apology did you owe someone but never got to give?
What apology did, say that again?
Did you feel you owed someone but never got to give?
Michelle, I think my authenticity has always been my superpower. So I ain't never been shy of words.
Wow.
And I think everybody here can attest to that.
Okay. What part of your healing is still unfinished?
Ooh, good one. Good question. I pretty much through all of the, which I started out in the book with emotional wellness, because I find if you're not emotionally mature, it is the center point of your life. It's going to drive everything that you do. And if you don't have a sense of finding out, and like I said, back in 1992, that's when I started that journey. And I knew I needed to work on that because I was not that person. But I always say too, in dating, you know, as a gay man that came up in the 80s, I always say we had gay dating dysfunction. And people say, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, we couldn't really date outwardly until we became 30. And think about that. You kind of know what you want when you're in high school, you're dating, going through college as a cis couple. You kind of know what you want, but if you're hiding it in the closet and not your authentic self, you kind of really don't know what you need in a partner. So if anything, at the time, and I've dated over the years, but hey, you know, there's always a room for improvement there.
Tell us about the no list.
The who?
The no list.
The no list.
The no list.
Yeah. Well, the no list is the list of you. When people get on that list, you don't invite them back in.
And this is when you talk about friends.
Yeah.
And inventorying.
Yeah.
This was a chapter that was, it forces you to be introspective.
Mm-hmm.
And also real.
Yeah.
Describe why it was so important to include.
Well, I mean, it's part of the wellness, you know, of socialization. And so
Decluttering.
Huh?
Decluttering.
Yeah, you have to declutter your friend group. and you really get to know who your friends are at that time. So the friendship inventory, I'm going to read that and let you guys know. Let me tell you something that took me way too long to learn. Growth will cost you company. That's not a failure, that's a filter. Social wellness refers to the ability to build and maintain healthy relationships, feeling connected to others, and contribute to supportive community. It's about fostering positive interactions, developing a sense of belonging, and creating a strong support system. Social wellness is a key component of overall well-being, impacting both mental and physical health. One of the biggest lessons of my freedom years has been that everybody can't go to your next level or destination. Not because they're bad people, not because you're better than them, but because evolution demands alignment. And alignment doesn't beg, it doesn't plead, it doesn't twist itself into what or who it used to be just to make others comfortable. If you're doing the work to love your life, to love yourself, your body, your boundaries, your brilliance, then the people around you need to match that energy, period. There was a time in life when I would bend myself into a pretzel to keep a friendship alive. I'd chase, I'll check in endlessly. I'll make excuses for behavior that no longer aligned with who I was becoming. I thought longevity meant loyalty. That's just because someone had known me since Howard, or back in the day in DC, or grew up with me in Statesboro, they were entitled to a front row seat in my life. But here's the thing, some folks were only meant for a few acts in your play, not the whole production. And when I finally accepted that, it didn't feel like grief, it felt like exhale. Let me be clear, I'm not talking about throwing people away. I'm talking about releasing what no longer resonates, about updating the cast list to reflect the man I am today, not who I had to be to survive. When you start showing up differently, your relationships shift. Some people lean in, excited, curious, supportive. Others pull back. They confined by their, excuse me, sorry y'all. They're confused by your peace, threatened by your glow up, or worse, they want access to the new you, but only if it comes with the old version of them. That's when you must choose. I've curated a circle that mirrors my values, not just my memories. People who can hold space for my evolution, who clap when I win, not just when I struggle, who don't need me to be small so they can feel tall. That doesn't mean we talk every day. It doesn't mean that we agree on everything. It means we show up honest, curious, and willing to grow together. Friendship in this season of life isn't about quantity, it's about quality. Give me 3 people who make me feel seen, supported, and spiritually hydrated over 30 who only show up for the party. Give me folks who check in when the world gets heavy, who aren't afraid of silence, who know how to hold joy and grief in the same hand. Give me real ones, and I'll call that abundance. Now, if you're reading this and you feel that tug, that small sting that says, damn, I've been chasing people who don't show up for me, or I'm pouring into relationships that never pour back, hear me. You're not crazy. You're just waking up. Sometimes our bodies know before our minds catch up. You leave a dinner drained instead of full. You hesitate before replying to the text. You remember how you used to laugh, really laugh with someone, and notice that now all you do is perform politeness. That's your inner inventory whispering, this no longer fits. There's grief in that. Of course there is. Some of my oldest friendships faded, not because of the fight, but because we stopped reflecting each other. We're speaking different languages. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone go with grace. But there's also freedom, because when you stop auditioning for old roles, you make space for new characters. When you stop watering dead plants, you stop noticing the soul you never even planted in. I think about the people I've met in the past 10 years, the ones who saw me without the old titles, who didn't need a history lesson to understand my spirit, people who arrived not to reminisce but to reflect, who see the man I am now and say, yes, more of that.
One of the last pearls you drop on us in this book.
The last one?
Well,
Is
no, I
something-
said one of the last. One of the last. But it's actually a quote by Toni Morrison.
Yeah.
The function of freedom is to free someone else.
I love, that's my favorite.
And what is freedom, you say, if not felt, if not danced into existence, if not sung in a register only our grandmothers remember? Who have you freed?
Wow, myself, number one. But the plan is to free all of you guys. That's the plan. The work here is all about community. I wrote this book because of my love for community. I wrote this book because when you see the trauma or when you see people not living in their truth, it hurts. Everybody is in a closet. You're just not in a gay closet, but you're in a closet. Whether you got married and didn't want to get married, you did that for your mother. You had kids and you didn't want to have kids. You did that for your mother. You worked a job that you didn't want. You did that for your mother or for yourself to make money. But everybody's in a closet. I want you to start to lean in and to love the way you live by doing what makes you happy. And that doesn't mean to be totally selfish. And you could say, Charlie, what do you mean? I'm 55, I just retired. I got my life ahead of me. You can pivot to do whatever you want to do. You can get a new partner. You can rearrange the relationships that you have with your parents, with your kids, or with your own spiritual being. It is time to actually put in the work so that you are not just running on autopilot. And there's too many people that you meet on a daily that are just existing, and then they just start drifting, and they're not contributing. I never wanted to get to this age and never share the wisdom that I've had, that I've acquired over the years. Everybody in here has a story, and you can tell it. And I love that I have a relationship with Howard and the baby Bison. Two of my favorites are in here right now. The love I have for people is strong. And I want people to know, and I think people who know me know the love that I have for them. I never would want to go back in that closet that I was in. You cannot pray gay away. It is not a thing. It is something that you want life to be free. And we as black people in this room, and there's some white people in the room, but people in general, you have to make sure that you spend time with yourself. Listen to that inner voice. Do what's right for you and not right for the gram or whatever else is out here that you're chasing. But lean into that and feel that, and you will have a better life. I think it worked for me. It helped me get out of where I was, and I'm a happy man today, 59 years old. I got a lot of living to do, and new careers, a new board appointment just happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just became appointed to the New York Urban League.
Oh, congratulations! She's
So that just happened. That's coming out tomorrow. But yeah, so life is good. And so my thing is, I want people to be bold, to live audaciously, to live with purpose, and to meet people where they are. And when you read this book, at the end of each chapter, there is a reflection and realignment. If you are married in here, I want you to have a copy and your spouse to have a copy. And then I want you to do the work in bed together with each other and ask each other questions and see. Because when you get in chapter 1, you will see where I said, if you had to reparent yourself, what would that look like? When was the first time you were told you were loved? What did that feel like? When was the last time you were told you were loved?
I'll go on now.
You want to share?
I can find it. While I'm sitting here and I'm looking for my workbook.
How are we on time?
It can't be all about me, but it is past our time. I just want to say, Charlie Lewis.
Okay.
Charlie Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you for freeing us.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for hearing us. And if you want to know, you have to see me after the show. But you see, I did fill it. Thank you, Charlie Lewis.
Yeah.